I got the idea from a friend of mine who's an 85-year-old man, a shoe magnate, had made many millions of dollars in the shoe business in the 50s and the 60s. Tremendously successful guy, and one of my mentors. His name is Eric. And when I decided to put this program together, I went to him and said, Eric, I'm going to put a program together about protecting your wealth and avoiding financial disasters, and I need some advice on what the real golden rule for all of it is. Can you help me out with that? And Eric said to me, let me tell you a story, Tom, about when I was a very young man in the Depression. As you know, I ended up becoming a very successful shoe store owner and manufacturer. But when I was young, I did not even own a pair of shoes. That's how poor we were. And one of my goals very early in life, from the time I was a kid, was to own a pair of shoes. And so one day, as luck would have it, a junk truck was driving by, and a bunch of stuff fell off the truck. And I looked through the junk, as many people did back then, for something of value. And I found a pair of shoes, a very ratty, worn, old pair of shoes. And I took that pair of shoes and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shine those things up, and I'm finally going to have my first pair of shoes. So I took them home, and I scrubbed them down with soap, and then I scrubbed them up with shoe polish, shined them up, polished them. I worked for a long time on this pair of shoes. And when I was done, these shoes looked magnificent. They looked perfect. They looked brand new, better than brand new. And I was so proud of myself. And I thought I was going to put them on, and then I said, you know what? Wait a minute. I'm not going to put these shoes on. I'm going to actually go out and try to sell them. So I took an old wooden table from our house, and I took it outside in front of our house, put the shoes on top, put a little sign on the table that said, shoes, 50 cents, and waited. And within a few minutes, a gentleman came by and saw the shoes, thought they looked great, and he bought them. And there I had made my first money in the shoe business, 50 cents, which was a lot of money for a kid in the Depression. So I took the 50 cents, and instead of, just taking the 50 cents and blowing it on gum or something, I went to a used shoe store. There were a lot of used shoe stores back in the Depression. And I bought for 50 cents 3 pair of used shoes. I took those 3 pair home. I shined them up the same way. Spent a lot of time making them look great. Put them out on my table for 50 cents each. Sold them very quickly, and before I knew it, I had $1.50. Well, I did this again and again and again throughout that month, that first month I was in the shoe business, and by the end of the month, I had actually made $29.50. And that was a lot of money in the Depression, $29.50, and I was very proud of myself. And that's really how I got started, Tom, was through that story. So I said to him, Eric, I see what you're saying. What you're basically telling me is the key to long-term financial prosperity and wealth and professional success is to set your goal very early, at a very, very early age, to focus on that goal relentlessly, to go further and further along the path, a very straight and narrow path, upward and upward and upward until you've actually reached your final goal. Is that how you achieved long-term professional and financial success, Eric? And he looked at me and he said, yes, that and the $14 million my wife inherited. Well, I knew I had been duped at that point and that he had just been joking with me. And I said, Eric, what's really going on here? Obviously you're playing with me a little bit. What is really the secret to professional and financial success? And he said, let me tell you something, Tom. This whole idea of focusing on your goal, setting it early, striving for the ultimate goal, and never veering off the path is not a very realistic goal. Life has its twists. It has its turns. Things don't turn out the way you want, and you really can't expect to focus on a goal when you're 10 or 12 or 14 years old and then achieve that goal as you move into adulthood. I said, well, then what really is the key to long-term professional and financial success? And he looked at me straight in the eye, and he said, Tom, the key is don't make any big mistakes. If you don't make any big mistakes, avoid the negatives that can happen in your professional and your financial life, you'll find that almost any path you end up taking is a good one. I don't think it's a good idea, Tom, to tell people how to live their lives or to set goals and focus on those goals. What I think you should be telling people is what to avoid so that they then can pick their choice and what they want to do in life and be successful. And that really is the genesis for my program, Protect Your Wealth. Cut out the negatives, eliminate the bad things that could happen to you, and what you'll find is you will glide smoothly to success in whatever you decide or choose to do. Cut out the negatives and leave only the positives. And so when we talk in the program about protecting your wealth, what we're talking about is learning all the risks that can face you in the various areas of your life and eliminating those risks. One of the things I really like